Rabbi Shammai Siskind is a Machon Shilo associate and member of Rabbi Bar-Hayim Hawara. Rabbi Siskind teaches at Yeshivat HaKotel and has a Spotify channel named Rabbi Shammai. Rabbi Siskind.
ברשות הקהל הנכבד, ברשות מורי ורבי, רב דוד. That's the speaking English, right? So we'll teach it in English. The Bavli, in Masechet Sanhedrin, in Daf Kuf Yud, asks a very interesting question. Hakatan matai zoche leolam haba? What is the seminal merit of a Jewish child that allows him to merit the world to come? So the most obvious answer would be to the very fact that he was born to a Jewish mother. Indeed, this is the first opinion listed in the Gemara over there. Quotes a pasuk from Tehillim: "La'am nolad ki asa." For the nation that was born into their birthright. This gives them the status for automatically. Then the Gemara lists the opinion of Rabbi Meir. It says something very interesting. The first merit of a Jewish child after he comes into the world and begins to be initiated into the practice of Torah, Kesha'amar Amen, the first time that he answers Amen to a blessing. As it says in the pasuk from the Navi Yeshayahu, Pitchu she'arim v'yavo goy tzaddik shomer emunim, the nation that guards the faith. Al tikri emunim, do not read it as the guardians of the faith, elo shomer aminim, those who guard the enunciation of Amen. We have something very peculiar in Machon HaKodesh. There's no coincidences in this language, as the Maharal tells us in many places, among them in the Sivha Pishut, in Tivot Olam, that Machon HaKodesh does not mean the holy language. If you wanted to say the holy language, we're all Hebrew speakers here. If a person wanted to say the holy language, it would be Halashon HaKdosha, the holy language. Machon HaKodesh means the language of holiness, meaning when a person is discussing matters of holiness, this is the language that they use. It's like scientific notation. There's nothing scientific about the notation. It's the language in which you speak about scientific matters. So La'adil, Machon HaKodesh, is the language in which you describe things of holiness. So there's no coincidences in this system of articulation. We have a very interesting phenomenon that the word for giving thanks, Hodaya, is the same word to give a confession. Hoda'at ba'al din k'mei ha'edim, that the confession of the litigant is like 100 witnesses. You don't need any more proof. Once the person confesses, that's it, he's confessed. Hoda'ah, halel v'hoda'ah, to give thanks to God, is the same word as hoda'ah, to confess. What is the connection between these two concepts? On the one hand, to give thanks, to give gratitude, to express gratitude on the one hand, on the other hand, to make a confession. To make a confession. It's a very interesting question. I apologize to the Tzibur ahead of time for reading my Mekorot from a phone, but we will suffice with what we have. About 800 years ago, there was a Chacham in France named Moshe Mikolsi, who wrote a very important Sefer Mitzvot HaGadol, and he lists all the mitzvot in an elaborated fashion. And one of the mitzvot that he lists, this is in Lo Ta'aseh Samech Dalet, the negative commandment, number 64. The prohibition of Pen Tishkach et Hashem Elokecha. There's a prohibition to forget God. It's a prohibition in the Torah to forget God. What does that mean, the prohibition to forget God? First of all, it's a pasuk, and it's an explicit verse in Sefer Dvarim. Yishamer b'cha pen tishkach et Hashem Elokecha. Guard yourself lest you forget God. But practically speaking, what does it mean to forget God? So as Chacham Moshe Mikolsi explains, it's not to forget God, to not be cognitively aware of the existence or non-existence, God forbid, of Hashem Barach, of the Creator, but rather this is a paradigm of thinking. Once a person exits one paradigm of thinking and enters another paradigm of thinking, that's called forgetting God. And what is the paradigm of thinking? So as the pasuk says explicitly, I'm reading from the source in Seudat Hodaya, Perek Dalet, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Hishamer lecha pen tishkach et Hashem Elokecha, lest you forget Hashem your God. Levilti shemor mitzvoto mishvoto v'chukoto, that you forget to abide and remain loyal to all of His commandments. Asher anochi misalecha hayom, that I am commanding you today. Pen tochal v'sav'ata, that you'll become satiated with all of the plenty in the land. Batim tovim tivneh v'yoshavta, that you will settle in houses. And all of your possessions will become numerous. And your heart will become haughty, and you will forget. All of the supernatural events that God did for you in the desert, etc., etc. And then you will say in your hearts, that this is the end conclusion of someone who enters this paradigm of thinking. The reason that I'm successful is because I figured it out. I figured out the way to do things. With trial and error, it could be that initially I failed a few times, but eventually I got it right. I figured out the system. I hacked the code, as they would say today. I figured out how to do things. Not because I have oriented myself to certain timeless principles, and I've oriented my behavior to the way in which the foundations of the world were rested upon, and that the values that I have are correct. It has nothing to do with that. I figured out the way to do things right. Because I figured it out, that's why I'm successful. This mode of thinking is called by the Torah, this is what it means to forget God. The prohibition in the Torah of forgetting God is to begin thinking in this pattern of thought. I think this idea of the prohibition, tishkach et Hashem Elokecha, gives us insight why it is in the Torah giving thanks is confession. It's the same thing. This is why, by the way, it's difficult for sometimes to give thanks to someone, to say a simple thank you. Because in every thank you, in every expression of gratitude, is a confession of sorts. What's the confession? Without you, I couldn't be successful. That's the confession. And it's uncomfortable. It's difficult sometimes to say thank you. Because it's not just, you say, why can't you just express a little gratitude? It's hard, because expressing gratitude is confessing. It's confessing, I'm lacking without you. So ultimately, hoda'ah, of the hoda'at ba'al din, and the hoda'ah of halel v'hoda'ah, of praising and giving thanks, it's the same thing. It's expressing the same phenomenon. So the hoda'ah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's constant and perpetual involvement, is also confessing that without that, there is no success. And without that, pen tishkach et Hashem Elokecha, to avoid forgetting Hashem, this is the perpetual path that we must take. The Shomer Emunim. What I believe the Chachmei Talmud are telling us in a very deep way is that what it means to be the Shomer Emunim, the guardians of the faith. And a person expresses this by answering Amen. What does this mean, answering Amen? Simple answering Amen, just one word. It seems to be a very lackadaisical. A person could even forget the significance of it. It comes out of our mouth without thinking. The Gemara in Brachot, as we all know, says that from a certain perspective, saying Amen is even greater than the blessing itself to which you're answering it to. But the answering of Amen is the ultimate confession. It's the ultimate, I agree, yes, this is true. Borei Pri Ha'etz, without God initiating this process, there would be no apple to make a blessing on. That's true. Without God initiating this process, we would not be sitting here right now. And someone with really maintains that perspective, it changes how they make decisions. It changes how they approach reality. It changes everything from how we make our halachic decisions, how we make our political decisions, our communal decisions. Someone who maintains that attitude of halel v'hoda'ah, the hoda'ah of confessing, of knowing and being aware of the constant involvement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with His chosen people, being constantly aware of that all the time, has a profound impact on the individual and collective level about how we approach reality. And this is the Shomer Emunim. And the Torah is beseeching us at the individual and collective level, pen tishkach et Hashem Elokecha. Do not begin to think in this augmented mode of, it's just a matter of figuring out how to do things. Once you figured it out, that's it, you can continue. Continue the next thing. Pen tishkach et Hashem Elokecha. Don't begin thinking in this way, because this is the fatal conceit The fatal conceit that once a person views reality in this mechanistic format, that it's all just a matter of hacking the code, that is forgetting the Borei Olam. And we, the Shomer Emunim, the guardians of the faith, are constantly in the modality of Halel Hodaya, the confession of recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's perpetual involvement with us, which is our ultimate form of giving thanks. Chizku Yamis Levalechem, Kol HaMiyachadim Na'ashem.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.